Alright. So, basically, I figured, I spent all night covering, learning Asana. And what I would want to do is to go over the, the why, the what, and then, the specific hows of how we could use it. So basically just being, philosophy mindset behind it, the concepts, and then the specific tactics of how we could use it to work together. So the why, background, right? So we're using Trello or trying to use Trello, but I think the thing with Trello was that Trello needed moving things from row to row doesn't tell you if it's done or not. So the thing with Asana is that it really is just a list of checklists. And the idea is that all the different projects then feed to one single view for you. And from that view is where you do your work. So it's if you come in and your stuff is has due dates and it's in what are your things that you need to do today, then that's what would be showing up on your main view. So my tasks, there could be a whole bunch of projects, but everything feeds to your my tasks list. So from a philosophy mindset kind of thing, it's if you can respect the due date of the task, then it'll basically make it so that if something does pop up, you respect your to-do list. So if something pops up and is due today, then it has to be done today. And as long as you can keep that one thing true, then you can trust the system, because you know that if there's a due date, the only way that it wouldn't get done is if it gets discussed and then there's a decision to move that due date, or there was complete mismanagement and you completely underestimated the task.
Okay.
Right? So the idea then is making sure that individual to-dos are small enough to be able to be done in one, in a sitting, such that, you don't get completely overwhelmed. But if you find that there's a ton of things that show up and you're you need to do this now, and it's 50 things, then you know that it's time to basically revisit the board and kind of look at what are the priorities of the projects and what needs to be where, right? But the concepts still stay the same, meaning it's the idea of projects and tasks, where a task is a finite, concrete action step, and a project is basically anything that's more than one task, right? In terms of speaking about it, that's what it is. So if shopping, going shopping for groceries, right, is looking in the house to see what is there, creating a shopping list, and then going shopping, right? You might think that's basically a project. That's this extreme GTD definition of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, those three tasks, even though they're related together, they can be done at separate times, but there's a sequence to them, right? So the idea of subtasks then come into play, because you can have a task that is a small project, right? So you can be all right, groceries, and then under that you would add subtasks check what's in the house, make a shopping list, and then go shopping, and you'd have to complete those three things before you can complete the top level one. And only other thing with that, as far as approach to tasks and projects, would be if something can't be done in one sitting, add a due date to it. Basically, nothing just hangs out. Maybe it'll be done, maybe it won't be done, right? If it's in that category, maybe it won't be done, maybe, then keep it in a ideas bucket and don't assign it to people. If you assign it to someone, then it needs action and it needs a date of when. Right? So the whole idea of having the system is not so much that you are able to, is not to overload yourself, right? The whole thing with this is my philosophy towards systems, right? Like to-do list and management, is that they're supposed to reflect reality, not force reality, right? So this is not a system to force us to be more productive. It's a system to reflect how productive we're being, right? Coming up with a decision like we'll respect deadlines and due dates, that's a constraint to force us to be more productive and to force us to trust the system, right? But it just is a matter of like forcing the dialogue. Like we can decide to put nothing in there for 3 weeks and do nothing. Cool, right? But it's not a parking lot for things that are not going to get done. But that's the thing. And so the why of it is basically that you'd have something that you trust with a few constraints in place such that when something goes in it, you can trust how the output is going to be. All right, so the what. The what is, trying different tools and concepts and methodologies and things like that. Trello is nice. It's very visual. It allows you to use boards and move things from column to column, but it doesn't really help you tell when things are done, right? So I think Trello would be good for planning something that lends itself to that. Not so much that you can see when things are done, but you can see workflow, right? So imagine if you had to like organize this room or whatever it is, then you could be like, all right, cool, make a list of the type of things you're going to move. So it's like electronics, then paperwork, then this and that. And then you could be like, okay, cool, you could move one to the other. But I think only when there's stuff like that, then we can go use Trello. But the what is going to be Asana. So Asana is a tool, it's a project management tool. And move work forward. Asana is the easiest way for teams to track their work and get results. I believe that. So I'm going to kind of like give you like a once-over of Asana, but it's basically they have projects, and a project is basically like a list of tasks, but they also give you the ability to add subtasks, which means that if it's something that's like a small project, like, very finite, then it's better for you to just like add the subtask to the bigger one and then add a due date to that task, to that parent task, so that you know that, you got to check those and get all the smaller pieces done before the big piece gets done. Alright, so I'm logging in with Google. Really? Log in using Google. Come on, Asana. So, it's though, there's like really like there's one rule. Pretty much. And the one rule is,
I didn't come up on mine. Your
new tasks get done. Well, I've already organized some of the things that are already in here. So, when you log in, obviously yours might look different, right?
How come that doesn't show much?
Well, hold on. Can I introduce the app to you? Alright. So, when you log in, yours might look different, right? But basically, I simplified everything that I'm doing to basically show all the things that I'm working on, right? I think I've basically boiled down everything that needs like individual attention and focus to me, business, the JP Adams blog, marketing for the JP Adams blog, the Devtopia blog, marketing for the Devtopia blog. This Hootsuite one right here is just for automation. So it's a board that I'm going to use to trigger certain automations that I'm going to set up at some point. So it's like Hootsuite would manage like social media, automated posting and scheduling.
Okay.
So that board really doesn't, it's not an active board that you'd put stuff. The only time you'd put stuff is if you want to trigger some action behind the scenes. Tutorials and resources. Now, this is something that, so I gotta like set all this up after taking Matt Giovanni's course, Giovannisi, I think. Damn, it sounds Italian. But after taking his course on using Asana to manage your blogs. But the thing is, he uses Asana to manage his like whole life. That's pretty much it. And I was like, you know what? It works because the thing is, it's better to be in one place and know that everything that's there is the truth. Right? So tutorials and resources would be another list that would have things in it. So let's just click into that. Right? So it's like how to create a blog post image for Devtopia using Stencil app. Right? Then it'll be on me to go into this specific task and add the instructions to that. Most likely what I'm thinking is I'll probably create a Google Doc instruction. At least that's the way he did it. He used like Google videos and he put videos and uploaded them to Google Drive and then he just linked to it. So that way you can just be like, okay, if there's a ticket that says, ticket, task, whatever, but that says create the image for this post, then it's easy enough to be like, here's the instructions on how you do that every time, right? And so this particular project would become like almost like a reference of, how do you do stuff at, what steps do you need to take to do it the same way every single time. So that's what this tutorial and resources is for. And I think it's like, imagine if you're creating something for me, right? I think you'll have access to this list, at least in the terms of us. But the whole idea is that now I could even like assign something to, say, Fancy Hands, and I can reference an instruction that's here. So I don't have to like write out a whole detailed email for them and be like, oh, you need to do this and do this and do this. I can just be like, here, reference this, and it'll tell them exactly how to do it, right? Because like
you can connect this with them?
I believe so. I used to be able to connect Trello with them. That stopped working. I think that's actually part of the reason I explored Asana. Right? So you think of like home, right? So coming to home, they have a really neat feature where when you add something, so let's say groceries. If you add a colon, it becomes a group.
Oh.
Like it's that simple. Take away the colon, it's a task. So anything that ends with a colon is a group. So you could do, because if you type it and you start typing other things, so groceries, meat, right? It doesn't do anything, right? Or groceries, I don't know, tofu, and you add another colon, it becomes a group again. Right? And you can go underneath that and you could do tempeh and tofurkey, whatever. But you can pretty much manage all the lists like that. So you go groceries, right? And you're like, all right, cool. Cereal. That's how you spell cereal. Granola. So, and I don't know what else is there. Cereal.
Milk?
Yeah, almond milk. Right, so now you can actually like go in here to the group. I wonder if you can actually assign someone to a group. Assigned. Yeah. And you go in here, assign that to BC, and give that a due date of today. Right? But if I change the assignment, and let me just assign this to me, and give that a due date of today. So now if I go back to my tasks, hold on. So if I go back to my tasks, part of my new task is groceries. And that's just what's there. But it doesn't tell me what's all underneath it. So that's not a good way to do it, right? So you go back to the home list, And instead of doing it like this, right, you could put like a group and call that group errands, right? And underneath that, you can have an actual task that would be called groceries. So get groceries. I can't spell groceries. How the hell do you spell groceries? You got groceries, and in the ticket itself, right, that's a finite task to be completed. Like, and then I'll just assign it to myself for a second just so you see it. And then I can come in here, add subtasks, right? So cereal, almond milk, right? And you could even do like subsections here too. So if I here's cereal, and I just come in here and do like items, right? So now I can do get I don't know, let's say check pantry, make shopping, or adjust a shopping list. And you could just like move that up, you see? So you can make it so that, move that up. You do check pantry and then adjust, and then you could do, because you can even go there and just say like, before going. Right, so now you can do like before going, check pantry, adjust the shopping list, right? And then just go here and make sure that the shopping list is accurate. So now if I go into my, it's still a due date of today. So now if I go into my tasks, right, I can see new task, get groceries. And if I click into that, and I can see before going, check pantry, adjust shopping list, and look at shopping list, cereal, almond milk, right? And now I can change that, assign that to you, and look at my task. It's gone from my task, and I'm back to my usual 750. And if you look at yours, it's there. But another nice thing is that if I go into from here, right, from my view, I can go into this and just see like what's assigned to BC. It says get groceries. You know? And likewise, you can go into my view. If you see me on your list, you can go into that and just see like what's assigned to me. And if I'm on your list, then you can go in and tap it and see like what's assigned to me, and you're like, okay, those things. But it's only the things that are like projects that you're in and have visibility on. And the way that the free level works is that you have visibility on everything in this, what do they call this here? Teams, I guess? Workspace. So in this workspace, you can see that everything, you have access to everything unless I specifically marked it private. Right? So I marked like me private. I marked all the motive stuff private so it doesn't clutter up your list. But you have visibility on the business, the blog, the marketing, the automation, and the tutorials and resources. And once the actual automation is set up with Fancy Hands, I think there's an integration point, then you can actually be able to like do something, assign it to the virtual assistant with Fancy Hands, and they can actually work on it. And I believe it'll update the status. I'll test one out to see how it goes. But that's really the how of it is just if you keep your lists fairly straightforward on the things you're working on. And I'm sure yours might be different, right? You might have your I don't know, like your career stuff. I should put career stuff on here, but I'm not putting it yet. I'm just gonna have that roll under me. But you can have your, I don't know, continuing education stuff and just set due dates to them. so that things that are coming up in the future can get handled, in the future. And the thing is, another thing here is that you can set up recurring tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you set up like groceries, if that's going to be done every week, then it's easy enough to go into home and make that get groceries like a recurring task. So instead of it having a due date of today, you could do set to repeat.
For every week, every Sunday or something like that.
Yeah, so you could do weekly, for example. Now if you do weekly, then do every 1 week on Sunday, or every 1 week on, let's say, Saturday. You could do it multiple days, but let's say every 1 week on Saturday, do this thing. So if you click OK on that, and you look at the actual date on it, so today is what? Today is the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone on Saturday, so it's actually due today, but then it'll also repeat every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So now if you go back and look at the stuff, get groceries. But the thing is, you can also organize that, right? So that just says errands, right? But you can do another one and set up, say, like recurring tasks. Get groceries. And then we can actually like delete this whole almond milk.
I hate social media.
You hate why do you hate social media?
Because you know what groceries need now.
No.
Tossing salad.
Really?
So every time you say it, that's triggering for me.
Lord have mercy.
Eating groceries.
Oh.
Telling me song.
Oh,
The song.
I know the song. I did not put that in my permanent RAM, and I don't want to put that in my permanent RAM. Errands, I don't know what errands we have pending. Like, errands is things you gotta run out and get. So do we have anything that's pending that we need to actually run out and get? We can actually make this list together and make it truthful.
Okay, I just need to get like the test strips I ordered online. They're not gonna come till the 20th.
Okay, so small. Alright, so pick up. Test strips for Mom. Is there anything for Ava? She has milk and all that stuff.
Yeah, I bought 2 yesterday.
Okay, so.
We need saline solution.
Okay, so pick up nasal spray for Ava. Okay, so there, and so I can just like assign that to you right now. So assign that to BC. Assign that to BC. So the whole idea is like, these are like one-off things. So they don't necessarily need due dates when you think about it like that, because they're just one-off, one go. But, so you can look at your new tasks, pick up nasal spray, get groceries, and then you can like look into the groceries and see. But it's like, makes you pretty much have to, if you get into the habit of tapping into the list just to see, are there any subtasks on this, or is there any description on this? Right? So weekly checklist to get food for the house.
Okay,
So okay, so as you can see there, so pick up, so those things will pop up on your list as well. So now if you look at your list, as we go into your list, you can see in your own version of Asana, you can see what's there. So that's pretty much it. It's just, if you don't overclutter it with too many separate projects, because each of these like lists on the side is a project. So if you don't actually clutter with too many separate projects on the side, and you make sure to be, beautiful about making sure that things that end up in this waiting area, things that are actually going to get done. If they're not going to get done, then let's just discuss it and get it out of there so that it doesn't pile up into like a big long list. And the idea then being that we can set up some kind of like a few recurring tasks for like just managing the house, managing the business, and then everything else that actually pops up is things that either are due that day or things that have to be done that day. And if something is more complex than 1 or 2 steps, but it can be done by anybody, then it's good to create the instructions for it so that you can then assign that to anyone. If we ever get to the point of like actually like expanding the team and being like, oh, somebody else is managing the marketing for Devtopia, then we can still bring them into Asana, monitor progress, have conversations, and so on. So that's the other thing is team conversations. Is that then you can see the conversations that are happening and you can start new conversations. And so you can view more comments here. So like this is one conversation going. And then there can be other conversations like, you know, what do we need to get for groceries and things like that. And so these are the team projects that are actively floating on here. But the other thing that you can do is you can look at the calendar, team calendar, right? So it tells you what's due, right? So for me, I gotta read today pretty much because this is due tomorrow. So I gotta read the God Academy. I need to, come up with a post to write. It's definitely not a task that should ever be in here because that is way too vague. But the thing is, I haven't created my list of tasks yet. So what I need to do is actually create a an editorial schedule for both blogs. And then I can use this to manage it. So at any given time, you can just come into the calendar and see like, okay, what's there. So once the name I've just... So you can see...
Is that here?
Yeah, so you can see team calendar and team conversations and team calendar, and then you got. So really, the calendar view just lets you know like what are all in the projects that are due, like that are upcoming, so that you can see that at a glance, right? You can see my tasks, my inbox. So this is your response to me came in here, and I'm like, okay, I see what new things came into my inbox, right? And I can just, okay, cool. Saw that, so I can archive this. Right? And once I archive it, it's gone. Hooray, I'm up to date on everything that's happening. But this keeps me abreast of all the activities that are happening. And if you're on the phone version of this,
I guess the phone version doesn't have everything?
The phone version is dialed down. So it's like if you look at my task on the phone version will be, what are your tasks for today? And the new task will pop up and you can actually rearrange, just like you can come over here and drag things around.
Yeah.
Make this second and move that up. You can come over here and drag on the mobile phone. You have the same feature. You can drag things up and down so that you can be like, okay, I'm going to get growth for you. It would be like, okay, move that. If you're looking at the BC list, see? Then it could be like, okay, I'm going to move this up. I'm going to get groceries first, pick up nasal spray, and then pick up test strips, right? You can see that. And if something has a due date like that, then it will just pop up today, for example.
Okay.
Right? But then you can also look at using that same exact view. Then if you look at the notifications, it's kind of like your inbox, like what came in, right? And then you can quickly see okay, what's in my inbox. Pick up nasal sprays, will be this for you, the things that happened today. Pick up nasal spray will be assigned to you. Pick up test strip got assigned to you. Get groceries got assigned to you, and everyone's got green. You can kind of see what happened today, and then you can archive that, right? Because those are the things that happen. For me, nothing is happening. If you look at being able to then add a project, it can allow you to add tasks and add a conversation, just like you can do here with the plus. to create a project, you can do that on the phone too. There's a plus sign. You can add a task, or you can add a project, or you can add a conversation. Just team conversation, team calendar, and so on. And then you can look at what are the tasks. You can look at what are the projects. You can look at what are the conversations that are open. So that's pretty much it. At any given time, you can just come in and look at my tasks. And from my tasks, you can look at, what's there, what's due today. And the idea is to respect it and work it so that things never pile up here. Because if things don't pile up, then it means that it's moving. And if things do pile up, it means like, okay, does that need a discussion to scale it down? Do we need to reevaluate something so that there's no stressing? But the trust of it comes down to the due dates. Like if there's actually something that needs a due date, it requires thinking ahead so that you can be like, well, all right, I know that I'm going to need this at this point, and that then becomes something that you can get done at that time. Because if you're not able to get that view to know okay, what's coming up for me, then everything becomes things that you have to react to, which means that if, let's say I'm planning and I know that today I'm going to spend time writing, and I'm going to spend time reading, and I'm going to spend time with other things that don't even have due date that I just have to do, like journaling and all those kind of things, then that's something that if something gets just added randomly, then I'm not going to be able to react to it, right? Or become frustrated because now there's more work than there's time to do it. And it's like, all right, it's possible to do, but there isn't time to do it. But that's pretty much it. So Asana is really like collection of projects, and within those there are lists. And I think one of the good things about this, which I actually did not add, is to have, if you have an ideas, and really respect the fact that ideas are ideas. They don't need to tie up your mental RAM, right? Hire someone to organize the home office, right? So now you can come in and see, okay, it's just an idea. It's not an active thing. There's nobody on it. It doesn't require anything. It's like, okay, what are the ideas that are floating around there? And then we can look at that and kind of because I think those are some of the things. To come in and clean, right? So you can look at that and just see for example, I didn't really add the idea of tags here, but you can add the idea of tags, right, to the project. So this would be organization.
You're tagging it under a category?
Yeah. But the thing is, that's the whole idea, is to keep enough, few enough tags so that you don't have to worry about it being overrun. So it's it's really organization, food, whatever it is, organization, errands, or whatever. So you can tag it so that there are few things, and you can come in and you can also change the highlight color. So organization, I feel like organization is blue. So if we go back here, home, organization. It's not really assigned to anyone, but you can kind of come in what are the ideas and what areas do they fall into. But the whole idea is if you keep it under 3, 5, probably under 7. Under 7 tags. Because you don't want it to get so granular that it's useless. Right? So it's if you look at the blog ones, look at the marketing, right?
Blog was what, writing?
Well, so the blog one is the editorial, just the one that says, like, so you look at JPA blog here. That's the editorial schedule, right? I just got some articles and then write down the ideas for articles. Haven't actually filled them in with anything yet. But if you look at the marketing, right, goal on both sides is 100 like visitors a month. So it's like I categorize things. There's only 4 categories that I care about in this thing, which means that if a task comes in here, even under ideas, I haven't really fleshed this out, but if a task comes in, even under ideas, they can only fit into those categories. If they don't fit into those categories, then it doesn't make sense to actually like put them there. So I got trying to get 1,000 visitors a month, 10 new email subscribers. Right now it's 0. $100 a month in revenue. Right now 0, and 10 new Twitter followers a month. I don't know how I'm gonna do that just yet, but and then got some recurring tasks. I'll probably readjust this once I get into the groove of things. But the way that this is set up is that if I come in here and just like review this, then I can see immediately right up top, like what are my goals for this project. But more importantly, because of the goals are tied to different categories, which means that any task that is associated with a color is tied to a goal. So you could pretty much do that for the home as well. Like, what are the things that we care about? We care about health, we care about nutrition, we care about organization, and I don't know, like Ava is a category damn near, And then you can kind of like have, so under the home category, you can then come in here and have, goals. Ava's goal. I don't know, what is the goal we have for Ava?
Just is the learning piece.
Create an awesome
learning
human being. And that would, not very quantifiable, but, it's like, all right, cool.
None of the things we want to put in there.
But it would immediately allow, so if you go in and you like tag that guy as, so let's come in here, add a tag. Ava Bean. New tag called Ava Bean.
Oh, Bean, not Bean.
Little Ava Bean. So we got, and so now you can actually like go in there and assign a highlight color. Baby pink. No, it's a muted pink. I don't want it to be a muted pink. Yeah. Hot pink. She's a feisty one. So, you just kind of come in there and you see like, okay, go create. We're creating a being. Raise Ava to be an awesome human being. Right? So now it's like, you can kind of have the goals like that. Goal. Keep home clean and organized. Right? So that should be you have to add a tag. Organization. Right, so it's just like if you figure out the few areas of maintenance that need to happen that really require like their own attention, then we can have like goals set up for those. And that way any new task that comes in gets evaluated on what it gets evaluated on, does it match up like an area that we're focused on, right? So go back to home. Not really a monthly goal. It's more like monthlies. Well, not really monthly goals. It's like areas of focus, right? So we don't really have goals there necessarily. I do like focus, right? Family, finances. Finances. New tag. Right, I'm gonna wrap up here anyway. So make finances green. So we look at home. Alright. So now if things ever come up with here, go over here. Ideas to consider. Alright, so I now have ideas to consider, and we can just move things in there from random ideas to ideas to consider. But that's like a graduation, right? So something gets moved up to ideas to consider. So the whole thing is like, as long as there's no like clutter going into everything above just random ideas, then this list stays pretty clear, where it's like you can always come in, we can see what we're focused on, we'll see what the errands are, see what the recurring asks, and then ideas to consider or discuss. That's pretty much it. Like that's Asana in a nutshell. But pretty much the singular pact here is we keep our focus on actually clearing. Something has a due date, then we clear it by that due date. And if something is coming up that needs to be like in consideration, then we basically raise it so it can be seen here. Actually, you know what? So I'll add a recurring task of family organization meeting. I was going to say family planning, but I think that's birth control. Family organization meeting. And you want to be in charge of scheduling this, or should I put this to me?
That's like the family organization?
Yeah.
Until I get the hang of it, you...
Okay, so I'll send that to me, and
you just come back. Okay?
1 second.
You keep saying that.
No. It's really. I want to wrap this. I want to sum this up. I like how you're putting that into the actual like recording, so that when I put this on YouTube, people will hear that you have to go pee. Let's just put that out there. So, whole family organization.
Can't you cut inside?
Meeting. Well, no, because our talks are overlapping each other. Right? It's on the recurring task, so I'm just going to go in here and add the set to repeat. Is every Sunday a good date for this?
Yeah.
So repeat weekly on Sundays.
Why don't you do Saturday morning?
Okay. So, meeting. A meeting to review what is active in Asana projects. And the priorities of the family. And that's pretty much it. So I wish I could just add you onto this, but I haven't figured out how yet. So that's
Add
fine.
multiple people.
Yeah. But in the meantime, I think that's good. I think it's actually good to have only one person on it because then they hold the responsibility.
Right.
But all right, so that's pretty much it. This is Asana in a nutshell, and I think we'll actually even go as far as to add the organization tag because that's really what it is. Like we stay organized, if that is, and getting groceries. I'll add a different tag for that at some point. But that's Asana in a nutshell. So I'll go back to my view here, and now that we've agreed on what is in here, we can pretty much just focus on making sure that we follow the system and we really adhere to the one directive, which is like due dates get honored, and if something has to be moved, then we discuss it and then move it as necessary. What's Asana? For family planning. I don't think that's family planning. I think it's Asana for like family organization.
You should probably use it for family.
Yeah. Post. I'm probably gonna jump on and do a 750, but for now I am done. Maybe Trello will probably take a back burner for now. Good afternoon, JP. Too many of us are not living our dreams because we are living our fears. So true.